Welcome back. Today we're going to talk some more about my latest book, and it's entitled On Our Way to Paradise. Like my other books, it is about public problems and how to solve them. The difference in this book is that it's a little more comprehensive. It looks a little bit more at the big picture and at long-term solutions for problems that have been with us, some of them since the beginning of recorded history, to try to make some real changes in the way that we approach problems and to try to avoid some of the pitfalls that have always been with us. Um, it basically, in essence, is a book that asks why can't we all just sit down and start with a clean sheet of paper and design a world that we would all like to live in, and then look at what we have come up with and compare that to the world that we have now and see how we might bridge those two together without causing, too much of a stir. Uh, I do address the basic problems that we have immediately, and I also tie that, link that to how we could make those changes while at the same time making life better and putting in safeguards to end war, poverty, hunger worldwide, and to develop a middle class here in America as well as around the world. That is the basic goal of the book, and if we could accomplish any of that, that would be a great step forward, and better than what we have now. I do spend some pages at the beginning of the book, as people have pointed out, talking about foundation. It touches back on some of my earlier books where I talk about the common good um, and common benefit, which are pretty widely accepted concepts. And I also talk about a direct benefit, which is that it's all well and fine to be a member of society. I mean, we all have sort of a social contract in a way that when we agree to live among other people, which is certainly the most advantageous way to meet the struggle that the world presents us. And so we're all working together, and we all have a set of rules that we agree to go by. But within the context of those rules, there must be a common benefit, a direct benefit for each individual. Each individual needs to go home at night and go, yes, I'm glad I'm in this system. It's personally benefiting me. And that should be a worldwide possibility. And we certainly don't have that right now. And there's two reasons to have this. One is out of because it's innately right. We know that. We don't need to read something to know that really is what is fair, you know. And then the other reason is because it's very practical in the world we live in today, where people here in America, have a certain standard of living, but people in some of the other developing parts of the world do not, and they can easily look on their smartphone or television set somewhere. They're looking at how we live over here in America, and they see the disparity. And so, what is their incentive to live in this condition while we have, from their viewpoint, a much better life? And so, if we want everybody to follow the rules, then we have to make the rules worthwhile for everyone. And when we don't, that's what results in crime and eventually, war and some of these things that, there's a reason why, pirates attack ships overseas, and that's because, they're trying to get ahead. And if they had, a good life, where they live, then they would have less incentive to go out and be pirates and stop these tankers and ships that we see on television occurring now. So those are the kind of things that we address in the book. As I say, in trying to get a foundation for these proposals that are in the book, and they are very specific. They're not, general, change you can believe in, feel-good slogans. We have specific proposals that will make a difference in everyone's life and be fair. We do want to point out, I want to point out that nothing in this book really encumbrances anyone's freedom unless they want to harm others or exploit others, because we just don't have room for that in our world anymore. And so if we treat everybody fairly, then we can all get ahead. And there's in a more nuts and bolts way, the first thing that people are concerned about, what is it going to cost me? Well, there's nothing in my book that would raise the taxes on working class people, middle class people. There are some increases for the ultra rich because they, looking at the historical view, are not paying quite as much as they used to. So there's a 2 to 5% increase at the most for people in that rich bracket, the billionaire bracket. There is a 1% tariff that's possible depending on how countries trade with each other. If a country's not fair trading, I have a proposal for a tariff so that we can get the money to help the people who need to be helped in that country. So those are the kind of things that this book is about and how we go about it. And I do lay out some of the philosophical part in the middle, and in the beginning of this, and you'll see it coming out, and you'll have to read through that if you just want to get right to the issues. And then the next section we start with general discussion about the middle class in America, because I'm an American, and so most of my book is from the perspective of an American, of course, and we will look at it from that viewpoint. But we eventually want the whole world to have, life as good as we have here in America. Why would we not want that? I am a capitalist. I was a capitalist in my working career. I do believe that if you look historically, while I'm very progressive and want change, I just don't think socialism or communism or any of these other forms of government, have worked out where it's been tried. On paper, it would if human beings were as good as written. But when you get out working among people and working with whole countries of people, socialism hasn't worked out, where capitalism has been shown to bring all of us up. And as torturous as it is, even for the working class and those who work and still are unable to get ahead, it still has produced more benefits for them than they would have probably gotten under another system. Now, that's been true historically, but now things are slowly changing, and that's why this is a good time to go ahead and ask for change so that we can get a system where all of us can benefit. So I'm calling for socially responsible capitalism. It's not hardly anything new. I'm sure you've heard the concept before. And, that's the way that you would want it to be anyway. I would like to think when I was in business that I was a socially responsible, small-time entrepreneur and small-time business person, and that we've got to have this new outlook no matter what size business you have. Capitalists are there for the benefit of themselves, the owners, and the stockholders. But in the future, we've got to also be considerate of the workers and of the consumers that buy the products. And everybody has to feel like it was a good deal to be involved in when it's all over. And that's not asking too much, and it won't be too hard to reach those goals, I don't think. In the book, to get right to the issues, to show that I have specifics in mind, I want to first tell you that some of them may sound new to you and may even be scary, and something like you're not used to seeing or thinking about in terms of America. But I do think that they would be beneficial. The first one, the most scariest probably, is I'm for work partnerships. Large companies like Walmart, these international companies and interstate companies that have thousands and thousands of employees. I think that all of them, from Ford Motor to any company that's involved in interstate commerce, that has, a certain amount of employees, either, 100, 500, whatever you want to set it at, they have a work partnership system where the federal government gives you a tax incentive for employee ownership. If employee ownerships were 25% of the company, then I believe not only would the company benefit, the employees would have more benefits, and more reason to help the company become successful. They would hopefully do better work. They would enjoy more of the profits, and it would be beneficial for all of us, including the consumer. Even on the small level, you can see that if you frequent a restaurant, if you do like I did, you go in and, there's a different waitress all the time, different waiter. And it's because they move from one place to the other. They work for a while and, then they find something better. But if they had a stake in the business, they might be more willing to stay there. And of course, the longer a person is employed at a location, the better, the more efficient they get. It's just better for everyone. So, work partnerships is a new concept for you. Perhaps it's not new to people who are, kind of always looking at how to improve things. But, 25%, something like that, for all companies that are in interstate commerce with a certain level, of success. Another proposal in the book is to go back to the 1950 standards in banking, where you have home mortgage caps, interest rate caps. It's been a while since I actually looked at that section. I think it's 3.99% for homes, 4.99% for credit cards, to also limit credit card liability to whatever you charge on the card, and not let that credit card debt be attached to your home and to everything you own, which many people don't realize. You buy a credit card, or you get a credit card and you go out and buy a lot of stuff and you can't make the payments or whatever. Your credit's bad. You just go, well, I can't do it. And you try to turn the credit card in or just not pay it. Well, if they wanted to, they can attach everything you own. If you're buying a house and you have some equity in it, they can, take you to court and take your house if they wanted to. And my understanding is occasionally they've done that. So we want to make credit cards a little more risky for banks, so they'll be more careful in who they give a credit card to, so that they won't be giving every person 7 or 8 credit cards and have all the citizens in the country tied up in so much debt that all they're doing is paying interest, which is pretty close to what we're doing now. So I have a section on mortgage caps and for other protections for consumers in their relationship to doing banking. Another specific proposal is health care. Well, we talked about health care in one of the previous elections. I did I think a whole book on universal health care in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I'm not saying that universal health care is the only way to do American health care, but of course, as you may know, the United States is about the only country that doesn't have universal health care. And, there's a pretty good reason for that, because it's the most cost-effective way for citizens to have access to health care. If private enterprise can figure out a way to deliver healthcare services along the same prices as people say a universal healthcare can provide, then I'm sure everyone would be interested in hearing that. But if you can't, people might want to look at what every other country in the world is doing. And it's some form of universal healthcare where you pay into the system either through the government or through a separate agency, which is what I would recommend. It would be a little more palatable for Americans. And then when you have a health care concern, you're going to be able to go to the doctor or to the hospital and have it addressed. A lot of people are paying money now for health care each month. It's one of their largest expenses. And even when they get sick, they can't afford to go because there's a copay that they, just can't afford. So there are better ways of doing it, and we need to look at that. It's got to be addressed because Americans are paying way too much, paying about twice as much for health care as other people in the world. And I'm not saying it's the healthcare system's fault, but the result is that Americans are generally not considered anywhere near the top of the list in health. So it may be our lifestyle, it may be some other factors, but we don't have the best health care, and that's what America should always shoot for. We should have, the best health care at the best price, no matter what it is. If we're workers, we ought to have the best wages. We need to be. That's the kind of competition that we ought to be trying to foster. We want to be competitive. We're not in healthcare. We're paying too much and it's taking too much from our economy, and we're not that sick of a nation. Another proposal in the book is a flat rate income tax. I think it has 3 or 4 different rates. It doesn't matter if you're married, single, corporation. It doesn't matter. You make a certain amount of money. You pay 15%. I don't think anything is over 20%, which would be a great savings for people who have to go to an accountant right now. It would do away with. I'm sorry about the accountants, and I hope there's still things they could probably do, but because you still would itemize if you wanted to, I suppose. But at one point in history, the IRS made the proposal and said, "Look, we will just tell you how much you owe in your taxes. For the rank and file citizens all across America, we just send you a bill, just like the water company or the power company. You look at it. If you like the figure, you pay it. If you don't like it, you can itemize." And that seemed like a pretty good proposal. But, there were some people in Congress, who they might would be. They said, no, we don't like that because, one, they just didn't trust the IRS. All it was telling you is that this is what we think. If you don't think that, you can still do it the old-fashioned way. And then the other thing was, there's a lot of money, millions and millions and millions, billions, in tax software, and, of course, the accountants who get paid to, hunt for deductions. And you just do away with all that. And that's all I'm proposing. You just do away with all that, and so that would simplify it. You know what you owe. It's not really a leverage to get more money out of people. And of course, as I said earlier, nothing in my book that I proposed would increase the taxes on working people. It would increase the taxes on slick people who use accountants. And I can't say I've used accountants once or twice myself when I was in business. If you don't want to pay any taxes, they can just about fix that for you. It would do away with that. So there's another specific proposal. Another proposal is that, of course, part of having a worldwide middle class, and certainly a middle class focus in America, is that workers have to have a living wage. And, I also wrote about this a long time before I knew who Bernie Sanders was. I think I'd already written a book by the time I knew who Bernie Sanders was. And, he brought that to the country, to the focus of the country, that if you work, you have to make enough money to make working worthwhile. So I figure, this is America, the richest country that has ever been on the planet. We can afford to pay our workers 2 times the poverty level as a minimum wage. And so if we do that, I think we've done our part at assuring that if you work, you will be able to live. And, we want people to be able to live without the need of welfare. We want them to be self-sufficient. And the way to do that is assure that they're paid properly. So those are some of the proposals in the first section of our book. I don't want these videos to go too long, so we're going to break them up. The next discussion is very interesting about the new proposals for our election system and our voting system, which has been problematic for a long time. But under in recent years, we've had people even question, is the voting legitimate? And I do think the voting was legitimate, but we have a simple solution that will resolve that no one will ever ask again. There's an election legitimate. We have a way of making it verifiable for every citizen, and that will be in the next video.